What's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out another episode of Eastern Current. Today, we have another mini episode for you, and we're going to talk about some of the rod and reel combos that Cameron and I like to fish, whether it's for trout or redfish. We're just going to really focus on that inshore fishing, what type of braid we like to fish, because we're pretty much all fishing braid now. We'll get into that, talk about our leader, talk about what reels are great for what. Before we get into that, if you do want extra content, go check out our Patreon page. We'll have that link in the show notes below. We've got podcast episodes over there every week and extra video content and whatnot. So go check that out. Excited for y'all or thankful for y'all that are over there on the podcast or in the Patreon page. I can't talk today, so I'm gonna go ahead and just bring old Cameron Pappas on so that he can take it away for me. But
yeah,
he's a fishing rod and reel master. He knows every reel, every rod. He knows the VIN number for everything.
Yeah, that's right.
What rod do you pick up? What rod do you grab this time of year if you're going red fishing?
I pick up a TFO professional 7-foot medium light.
TFO professional 7-foot medium light. Do you remember that? And it still is intimidating to me a little bit sometimes. But like when you were maybe just getting into fishing and thinking about rods a lot, like how intimidating those words were, and trying to understand what that meant. Someone's like, get the medium light fast, extra sharp tip, double back end. And you're like, okay, I think I know what you're saying. All right, say that rod again one more time.
So it's a TFO, Temple Fork Outfitters, 7-foot rod, and it's medium light. Medium light,
sweet. 7-foot rod, medium light. What do you are you fishing 7-foot rods most of the year? You like 7-foot rods, don't you?
I like 7-foot rods. If I'm just like solely going to be throwing a topwater, I might fish something a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think those 7-foot rods work great for pretty much everything. I think it's a good mix of being able to throw jig heads, being able to throw something light, as well as being able to launch a topwater a pretty good distance.
Yeah, for sure. And you can pick those TFOs up at Intercoastal Angler. I know they carry TFO. They've got a bunch of options over there. My go-to redfish rod, and the nice thing about this time of year is I'll back that redfish rod down a little bit, and I'll fish more of like a trout rod, which it sounds like you do as well. But I fish a 7-foot medium light world class or elite tech from Fenwick, and just great rods. I mean, any of those, and I like a split grip rod. I've really found out that that's what I really like to fish personally. A split grip rod, meaning that cork from the bottom of the handle doesn't extend all the way down to the butt. You kind of just have that open rod, and then you've got the butt. Do you have a preference when it comes to that? I know some people do, some people don't.
I actually like the cork to go all the way
down.
Yeah. I do.
It's funny. I don't know why it matters to me, but I definitely feel like I can feel better, and I like the way my hand kind of sits on that rod a little bit.
For some reason, and I don't think there's any truth to this, but when the cork goes all the way down, I feel like that part is longer, and I can really get that leverage on it. Yeah.
I swear that's like the same thing for me with the opposite. Like I feel like not having that, I kind of have a little bit more pop to be able to cast. Yeah. So a lot of times with when I'm trying to get some distance, I got one hand on the butt of the rod and one up high, and I'm trying to really zip it. But if you are, all these windows are starting to pop up on my computer here. So 7-foot medium light TFO. What kind of reel do you like to pair with that for this wintertime fishing?
I like the Spheros, the Shimano Spheros, and a 3000 model. I think that's one of the best bang for your buck reels that I have found.
Yeah, the Shimano Spheros is a great reel.
And I think the Shimano reels are just an awesome product.
They're light. They're very light.
They're light. They're smooth.
I fish a lot of the pin stuff, and I would say overall that my pin reels are not as light as Shimano reels, but more durable. I feel like I get more life out of my pin reels. I mean, I can beat up some conflicts, man, 2 years straight and hosing them off just barely every afternoon and just still ripping. So that's one thing that's important to me. Guiding is a reel that's going to last, the test of time. And I don't want anyone fishing junk on my boat, but the end of this past summer, I was having to fish some older reels though, just because it's so hard to get stuff, you know. And the cool thing about some of the pin reels, they're so easy to take apart and grease back up and get them rocking a little bit. Maybe the paint's a little scuffed up on them, but still working well. But yeah, I like did you say 3,000?
Mm-hmm.
So I was a 3,000. I've always fished like slightly bigger reels, and dropped down to some 2,500s for all my redfish rods. I was fishing 3,000s, and then from pin I couldn't get the 2,500s this spring, so I ordered some 2,000s. Mm-hmm. And dude, the 2000s are awesome. They're awesome. It's a great little reel. Like I always thought 2000 was way too small, but especially for trout and then redfish. Now I don't want to go catch 30-inch redfish on a 2000. I want to always be able to get fish to the boat quickly and release them. But that 2000 is plenty of reel for wintertime redfish and trout.
Yeah. So I like the reason that I like the 3000s for my redfish rods is just because I also use those same rods for false albacore. Yeah. And the 3000 for false albacore seems like a pretty good match as well as for any big redfish you're going to catch as well. Sure. So for that purpose, I like to have a 3000. If I was just using them for solely just for redfish, I think I would go more your route as well as the 2000.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely lose versatility with a 2000. Like it's just trout and slot drum. But 3000. Majority of my rods are 3000s. So almost everything besides my trout rods. Essentially, I'm just picking up my trout rods in the winter and using those as my redfish rods instead of redfish. So
I'll for trout, I like to use some TFO 7-foot professional lights. They're so much fun to use because 14-inch trout feels amazing. Yeah.
You got them all stocked.
But I will say they're not the best for redfish. And I think the reason being is the tip is just so light that when you get a bite from a redfish and you go to set the hook, I feel like it's just so flimsy that it doesn't really like puncture that hook in their mouth that well. Right. So I have generally when I'm going fishing for trout and redfish, I'll have 4 of those light 7-footers and 4 of those medium light 7-footers and just trade them out as the day goes on. But my one regret is on those trout rods. I bought Shimano Nasis in the 2500 size, and I'm like, dang it, I should have got 2000s.
Oh, it's just a little too big.
Just a little too big for those rods. Yeah. So I might have to repurpose those 2500s here pretty soon and replace them with 2000s. That's
funny. It's crazy. Like I'm bad about it, man. I've got to have sets of 4 with rods. Like me too. 4 or 8. So I've got so many rods in my garage that are just loosies, as I call them, just single rods or 2 rods that aren't. And I'll still use them for different applications, but like once I'm like down a rod or 2, if I can't have my set, it's like move them, order some more. So that's so bad. I need to start selling them, but I give a lot of them away to buddies. So maybe we'll give some away on Patreon. That'd be kind of cool to do. Give a big rod bundle away, and they're good rods. But yeah, it is. I think one of the things that people struggle with too, and I did at first, like I didn't realize until I started listening to like a lot of bass fishing podcasts, and this was like as I was getting into bass, or as I was getting more into fishing and wanting to learn. Like I didn't realize that rod choice had a lot more to do a lot of times with what kind of bait you're throwing. Mm-hmm. It definitely has way more to do with what kind of bait you're throwing than what kind of fish you're catching. As far as, especially with bass, because you're just targeting bass, but there's a million different freaking rods that you use for all your different baits for bass fishing. And then I started to realize the importances and why those rods were more effective with a specific bait for a bass, and then applying those same deals to the rods that we're using in the saltwater for redfish and trout. But that's a whole podcast in itself that could be 15 hours long. So,
yeah. And then, you bait fish a little more than I do. Yeah. As far as bait fishing rods are concerned, like the ones that I have are a little shorter and a little stouter. Yeah. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, a little bit stiffer rod. Mine are still 7-footers because I like to be able to get the cast. I feel like that extra length kind of helps me back off of a dock and sling a Carolina rig up under a dock or whatnot. But yeah, medium fast or medium heavies are great bait rods. And I've kind of, as the past few years of bait fishing have progressed for me, started using a little bit more medium heavies, like a 7-foot medium heavy, just for the simple fact of versatility, being able to go catch flounder and redfish inshore on these rods, but then also go slide out to the jetty. And if I hook a 30-40 pound redfish, I can still feel very confident that I can get that fish to the boat quickly in a healthy way and release that fish. And also just allow my client to be able to catch it, not be overpowered. If I was fishing like a 2,500, 2,000 in deep water, it would be quite the battle.
Yeah, I'd say too, like if you're planning on like sheepshead fishing at all, having something a little bit stouter
for sure
is a good idea, because they will surely pull you into some pilings if you don't have a nice backbone on your rod.
Oh, definitely. They definitely will. Well, guys, I think don't you think that's a pretty good little wrap up of wintertime rods and reels that we like to use? Thanks for checking out this mini episode. I hope y'all are enjoying them. Just trying to get some extra content out for everybody each week. But as always, thanks for checking it out. We'll see you next time. Later.